Good morning. We are now in the book of First Kings, and David's little boy has grown into a teenager, and his name is Solomon. And David anointed him to be the next king of Israel at a young age. David was very old at this point, and in fact, when David rode upon, they used mules. This is the first time I've heard of them, but they've used mules now instead of just donkeys. But for some reason, the hierarchy rode on mules. And so anyway, David anointed his son. David rode in on a mule, but it says that he was so weak and so old that they had to kind of help him along. So Solomon now becomes king, and David has died. But Solomon remembered something his dad had said. It's such a shame that we live in a palace, and yet the Ark of the Covenant of God lives in a tent. And Solomon was going to do something about that. And Solomon asked God to give him wisdom. And oh boy, did God ever give Solomon a lot of wisdom. And I'll just give you one instance of wisdom. In fact, so many people heard about it, they came from far and wide to learn about and to hear what to do about things because of Solomon's wisdom. Well, one time, there was two ladies came before Solomon, and they each claimed that this one little baby was theirs. One lady said, "It's my baby," and the other one said, "No, it's my baby." And they had kind of a to-do in front of the king. And so Solomon, wise Solomon, said, "All right, we're going to solve this problem right now." And he called a man out that had a big knife. And he said, "I'm going to cut this baby in half. You can have half of the baby, and you can have half of the baby." And right away, the mother piped up and said, "Oh, no, 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 no. Let her have the baby." And by that, Solomon knew who the real mother was. And he was right. Turned out he was right. So sometimes wisdom comes very easily. But with Solomon, it was godly wisdom. And because of this, Solomon grew very rich, very wealthy. People came from afar to hear about the wisdom of Solomon. And like I said before, he had remembered his father, David, saying, "Why does God have to live in a tent in the Ark of the Covenant, and we live in the palace?" So Solomon decided he was going to build the temple of God. He was going to build it exactly after the same pattern as the tabernacle. Remember, we went through that. The different things in the tabernacle showed, and they identified as different things. They were all became Christ. So Solomon built his temple. I'm going to just cut to the chase here. And then when it was time to bring in the Ark of the Covenant, and he built the temple on Mount Moriah in Jerusalem on a hill. And Mount Moriah is where Abraham was going to offer Isaac. But remember, the lamb that was caught in the thicket took Isaac's place. Oh, what a picture of Jesus. The ram was caught in the thicket. He had thorns caught on his head, and Isaac was able to go free. And that's what Jesus did for us. We were like Isaac, but then the ram Jesus, the Lamb of God, took our place. Anyway, I can't get off back on that. We've already covered that. So anyway, it's time to bring in the Ark of the Covenant. And it says that the people gathered around, and this is on Mount Moriah, where it has always been. And the people gathered around for the opening. The Ark of the Covenant is finally coming back in. And they asked the Lord to come back into Israel. And they would come to the temple and worship. It says that when the priests carried the ark in by poles, they either had them on their shoulders or carrying this way, but they brought the Ark of the Covenant, and it says that the glory of God so filled the tabernacle that the priests couldn't even stand to minister. It was so brilliant. And this was the glory of God that showed up at the beginning of the world. It's the same word when God said, "Let there be light." That light was far greater than the sun. It's a different word. And the light is God himself in the glory of the light. It was so brilliant, and God let everybody know he was coming back into the temple again. So I'm going to leave off there right now. I'm probably over time. But what a day for Jerusalem. I'll be back.